All right, Caleb Wilson asked, Tubi or Shutter? That's easy, Tubi. Uh, Most of the stuff that I review on here tends to be on Tubi. Uh, I like that it's the closest thing we have to a digital version of the mom and pop rental store. It's such a bizarre catalog of things. I love their trash film collection when it comes to horror and sci-fi and action stuff. They got a deep roster when it comes to the things that they have. Shutter, I like, but Shutter outside of Joe Bob really has been disappointing for a long, long time. There really hasn't been much that I've gotten excited to see, and a lot of stuff is titles that are already on Tubi. So, Tubi. Thank you, Caleb. Um, Brian Stocks said, "Do you prefer schlock or awe?" Well, I prefer when my schlock leaves me in awe, much like the Tubi question. I took the name of the company Schlock and Awe Films. So originally, we're Nerwall Films. My name, Newton Robert Wallen, combined down into Nerwall Films. And I thought of that in the fifth grade when we were doing this. I don't remember what the thing was, but we were watching The Voyage of the Mimi, which was a oceanography show, and Ben Affleck was in it when he was a kid, and they talked about the Nerwall in it, and I was like, oh, cool, it's spelled differently, obviously. So I said, if I ever have a production company, we're going to call it Nerwall Films. And that stuck until 2019 when we were going to the American film market, and we had all these projects lined up, and at the time I had made Crystal Quinn, my former girlfriend, was going to be was always my production partner, but we were going to make it officially a production company. So I came up with Schlock and Awe because of Shock and Awe, the post 9/11 thing. And apparently somebody has a YouTube channel called that as well, but no production company of it. So I made our production company, Schlock and Awe Films, and I updated the Nerwall Films logo, which was originally done by a guy named Art Skull back in like 2006. I had it updated by Michael Dolan, who unfortunately passed away back in 2019, to the logo that you see now, the logo that is on my pin. But I prefer schlock. I love when something schlocky like inspires me or leaves me like, what the fuck was that? So I hope that answered your question. And Mel Heflin, who's a great B-movie actress. She's in Swamp Zombies 2. She's been in a million movies. She did a lot of Polonium movies. She says, if you could use a real creature to make a movie, who would you pick? That's easy. Well, two. I would go with Bigfoot because I want to make a movie where Bigfoot wins the lottery and call it cryptocurrency. But I'd love to do something with the Jersey Devil. I grew up in South Jersey, not far from the Pinelands. So if I could work with any cryptid, I would probably want to work with the Jersey Devil. I think that would be pretty fucking cool. And I've always wanted to make, but it's such a regional thing. I don't know if that many people know the legend of the Leeds Devil, because I always wanted to make an anthology movie that was like 4 different stories from New Jersey filmmakers, each doing their own version of a Jersey Devil short story. I wrote a really fucking cool one years ago where these people are lured out to the Pinelands. They have like a YouTube show where they do like investigations of like, you know, the paranormal and shit like that. And they're lured out by these people who offer them new information. They go to this Jersey Devil festival, which they actually have in Jersey. And when they're there, there's a really cool fake out scare that I wrote, because at one point in reality, the Philadelphia Zoo painted stripes on a kangaroo and tried to pass it off as the Jersey Devil. So I kind of wrote something similar to that, where these pineys are what you call people who live out in the Pine Barrens. They set up this like dark ride kind of thing, and they scare our main characters. And this whole thing's done with found footage. It's all they're wearing body cams the entire time, and they get scared by that. They think it's funny. They go to this diner afterwards to talk about what, you know, the whole thing, and then the pineys come in there and they're like, look, if you guys want to know like the fucking truth about the Jersey Devil, come out with us. So they go out, they follow these people deep into the woods, and they get knocked out, and the one girl wakes up underneath a pile of her dead friends, and it turns out that she's being used as live bait. These people, they're actually descendants of Mother Leeds. The Leeds, you know, gave birth to the Jersey Devil. The whole story is like her 13th child. You know, she said, "Let this one be a devil," and when it was born, it turned into a monster and flew out of the chimney, and that's the story of the Jersey Devil. Really, it's actually the legend of the Jersey Devil goes back to kind of the very first instance of fake news in America. The Leeds family were British, you know, wealthy British landowners in New Jersey at the time, and their family printed the almanac. So they raised anti-Christian sentiment against them by saying that their work with the almanac was demonic, but really it was to get rid of the pro-British influences in that area at the onset of the Revolutionary War. So that's really where the Jersey Devil story comes from. But I had this really cool idea that these people were descendants, and it wasn't the 13th child, it was 13 children that were you know, infected with this like elemental Lovecraftian kind of evil. So they was very much controlled the Pine Barrens, which is old trees and moss and this kind of stuff. Is really fucked up, and this girl wakes up and then she's on the run from these things, and it was really messed up. And they all glow on the inside like pumpkins, almost like a jack-o'-lantern. Obviously I'll never be able to make it, but it was just this fucked up writing experiment. So I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, that's my I'd want to work with the Jersey Devil. And then the other idea for that was that the wraparound at the time would have been Mr. Lobo, back when he still worked with me as the host of this thing. He's telling these 4 stories, so yeah. And then Icy Bird from our Discord asked, "What is your favorite pizza?" My favorite pizza is on the Ocean City, New Jersey boardwalk. It's a place called Mac and Menko's. I love Jersey Shore pizza. I don't know what makes it so tasty, but it's my favorite ever, and I have not been back down there in probably 20 years, so I haven't had it in a long time. There was also Preps Pizza in Wildwood was my second favorite, but I'm simple. I don't need a lot of fancy shit. I like a good thick crust. I like a good sauce, you know, and plain or pepperoni tend to be my go-to. You know, I only eat stuff like, you know, Papa John's or Domino's or something like that when we're doing it for live streams or whatever, because it's usually the only thing that's still open. So yeah. All right, we got more questions. Let's go with Donald Farmer, director of Shark Exorcist 2 and Debbie Does Demons, who says, "Looking forward to your part in Were Shark." Donald, that's not actually a question. No, I'm looking forward to it as well. We're going to be shooting that in July, and I'm with Winford Heckert from Delaware, who I worked with Fallon on Sucks to Suck. He's a cool dude and a good filmmaker. We're going to be shooting at his house, and that should be a fun one. That's I'm doing the opening to that, and I'm basically doing a bigger version of the scene that I shot with the Hack Movies people for Shark Exorcist 2, so I'm going to recycle that and shoot a new version of it. So yes, Donald, I'm very excited, but not a question. Let's see. Mel Heflin said, if you could create any kind of scene, budget was no issue, what kind of scene would it be? There's 2 types of scenes I've always wanted to shoot. I have always wanted to shoot a well choreographed musical number, sort of something in the vein of maybe the Anything Goes scene at the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, or the Roxanne Tango from Moulin Rouge. I've always loved musicals in general, and I've always been fascinated by what goes into making a musical and shooting a musical, and that kind of power and motion and fluidity that goes with the performances and the editing and the music and all that. So a big song and dance number I think would be really cool, kind of a Bisbee Berkeley style thing. The other type of scene that I would love to shoot is a really raw, really grounded, brutal fight scene. Like, like very, very grounded, hand to hand, where you feel the hits kind of thing. You look at something like Old Boy, or if you're a Marvel fan, the hallway fight scenes in Daredevil, like something that's like where you can feel it, and people become punch drunk throughout the fight scene. It's not so overly choreographed, that like there is a lot of fumbling, and just brutal and raw, and watch the physicality of fighting, and I've always been, I don't know, since I was a kid, watching like Sonny Chiba movies, and then all the Golden Harvest stuff, and the Shaw Brothers stuff. Obviously, they live, just a knockdown, drag out, fucking fisticuffs kind of fight scene. I think would be super cool. And those are the two types of scenes that I would shoot if I got the chance. Let's see. Caden Van says, if anyone wanted to get into film, what general classes would they look into signing up for, especially script writing? Any digital editing training recommendations? All right, Caden. I don't edit. I tend to have people who do that for me. Obviously, you watch this, it's just me, stream of consciousness. When I wanted to get into filmmaking, which I still want to do, I'm still not really a filmmaker, I started by shooting stuff in the backyard with my friends, and then watching a lot of behind the scenes on VHS back in the day, like the making of Star Wars. Seeing how things are done, going to the library when I was a kid and reading every fucking book I could read about filmmaking, and then buying screenplays before the internet, like buying physical screenplays and learning how to write in screenplay format. And then when I was in film school, learning a lot of the behind the scenes stuff was really important. I took acting classes because I wanted to direct, and I figured I should know how to talk to actors if I want to direct. I took some screenwriting classes, but I wasn't very good at it. I kind of have my own way that I like to do things, and it's not traditional. Quentin Tarantino's editor said that he's essentially functionally illiterate, so I don't feel so bad. I have people who go in and kind of clean up the grammar and punctuation and stuff like that on online. I would just say the biggest thing you could do is work with other people, like work with actors, work with directors, learn how to do lighting, learn how to do sound and all that kind of stuff. Like, try to master as many things as possible on a film set, because the best kind of ability is availability, and I don't know, what's the old saying? It's like, I didn't go to film school, I went to movies. Like, that's kind of your thing. You got to find your voice. But when it comes to, if you want to become technically proficient, there are a lot of online courses that you can take. And again, like YouTube, you're watching this on YouTube right now. You could go type in what you're looking for and watch tutorials on how to do this kind of stuff. So it's not like it used to be, like back in the day, like you had to go to LA and go to NYU or LA, UCLA or something like that to. I know NYU is in New York. I'm just saying it's a big film school. My ex Christy went there. There is now a thing where, like, you don't have to be in those places to make movies. You can make movies anywhere. You can make movies on your fucking phone. It's just about having a vision and finding the people around you who will follow that vision. And if you know your shit and you have a clear vision and a clear way of speaking and presenting it, it's much easier for people to kind of get it and to follow. I hope that makes sense. Let's see. What do we got? Joshua Matthew Blevins said, if you could make any film and budget was not a concern, and you could have any actor and full creative control, what would you make? I think if I can make anything, I would probably do a shot, like almost a shot-for-shot remake, of The Dark Knight Returns. My favorite my favorite Batman story. I would bring Ben Affleck back to play the older Batman, and I would shoot it. It would look like in Sin City. It looked like Frank Miller. I would do something like that. It would just be not worrying about. I know it's Batman. You need the IP and all that kind of stuff, but I would just do a straight up retelling of The Dark Knight Returns, not connected to any universe. It's its own thing, and it's just 100% like Sin City, true to the comic. Or if I was going to do another one, I mean, I'd love to do a Deadman movie, another DC Comics character, or do a movie version of Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein and make the monster look like Wrightson's drawings. Those would be mine. Let's see. All right, we got those. Sorry, I'm trying to get to as many of these as possible. Okay, if you could make a biopic of any non-film person, who would it be? And that's Brody Findmore said that. Hello, Brody. Because I know what biopic I would do if I was going to do a film person. If I was going to do a non-film one, I guess stories that are interesting to me. Van Tassel, I think was the guy's name. He was a weirdo in Key West, Florida, who fell in love with this girl who had cholera, and when she died, he dug her body up and like kept it as like a love doll. And I would do like a really unconventional, fucked up body horror, non-romance movie, where, because it is one-sided, she didn't give him permission to do that to her body. That's a story I heard when I was in Key West when I was a kid on vacation, and I became fucking fascinated by it. And I always thought that would make a really cool, weird movie. Another one would be, because Marvel movies are so popular right now, I thought about, what about the if you did like a Mad Men version of the early days of Marvel, and you call it House of Ideas, and you have a young Stan Lee, and you have a young John Romita, and you have a young Jack Kirby and stuff, and it's about the artists and the writers putting together that era of 1960s Marvel movies. I think that would be a really fucking dope idea as well. And then we'll do one more for Joshua Matthew Blevins. Any low budget film that you think would be better as a remake with an actual budget? For me, it's a movie called Against the Law from 1997. I've said this many times, Josh. I think that a lot of the 1950s B movies, stuff Roger Corman did, AIP stuff, a lot of those drive-in movies, with special effects by Paul Blaisdell. They have really cool ideas in them, but they're held back by their budgets. I think doing like big budget remakes of the cool ideas of those 1950s movies, or and then like giving them a modern twist. There's a lot of those movies I think would be fucking dope as hell. Another one that I'd love to do, I love the plot of the Mexican movie, The Robot versus the Aztec Mummy, where it's a cursed tomb, so they send a robot in because the robot can't get cursed. I was like, oh, you could do something really fucking cool with that, especially in drone, like